Okay, hello boys. So today we are going to be looking through compound interest. So last lesson we did simple interest, today we're doing compound interest. Okay, so compound interest occurs when you earn interest on a new higher balance, not on the original amount of money, which happens with simple interest. Okay, so you'll often hear people talking about earning interest on your interest. That's compound interest. Alright, so compound interest occurs with your normal savings account. Now, you probably don't notice much happening there for two reasons. At the moment, the interest rates are really low on normal savings accounts. You're probably lucky if you're getting 0.1%. So there's not much happening there at the moment, but in the past we have had much higher interest rates than that, and you would notice it. The other problem with the savings accounts is that you're always using them. So you're adding to the balance, but then you're using it in the canteen, so your balance is going back down again. So you're not really noticing what's happening with compound interest. However, with something like a superannuation fund, you will notice what happens with compound interest. So if you listen to anybody talking about money and financial advisors, they will talk about the value of compound interest. So what happens with a superannuation fund is you're not allowed to touch it until you retire. So for you, it's going to be a long, long time before you get your hands on that money. For me, it's a little bit closer. Okay, so what happens is a superannuation fund, you keep adding that money and you're contributing to it, which makes the balance get higher anyway because you're contributing to it. Your employer has to give 10% now, so 10% of your income will be put into your superannuation fund once you start working permanently. So that balance will continue to rise. As well as that, it is also earning interest. As you continue to rise your balance in your superannuation fund, you will be paid interest on the higher balance. So you might have $100,000 in your superannuation fund, you might be earning 5%. So the following year, you've got $105,000 on that money. Okay, plus you're adding to it. So in a couple of years' time, you might have $300,000 in that. You will be paid 5% or 6% or whatever the fund's earning on the $300,000, not on the original money you had. So it continually is accumulating. So it's a little bit like what's happening with the pandemic at the moment, where things are starting to skyrocket. We've done these graphs before, the exponential graphs that take off like that. That's what's happening with your compound interest. Okay, so you're starting to continually double your money. So this amount of money very quickly ends up there. Okay, as long as you don't touch it, which you can't with the superannuation fund, it will grow very quickly. It's good that it does because that's what our retirement money is going to be. We will not be getting many pensions in the future and the government can't afford to be paying it. So we need to be really invested in making our money work for ourselves. Okay, so the way this works, compound interest calculations, you've got to practice these formulas or you're going to get yourself confused. The first formula we're learning is A equals P R to the power of N. Now, not all the books will teach it that way. Your textbook teaches it a little bit differently, so don't look at the textbook. I'm teaching you the way that the Year 11s learn it, so it won't be so much of a shock when you see it in Year 11. So in this formula, the A actually stands for amount, but it's the final amount of your investment. So it's the amount that your investment has grown to. It's not calculating interest. It's calculating what your amount grows to. The P is the principal or the original amount of money that you invested. Now, we're not looking at a superannuation fund here. We're just looking at a fixed amount of money that gets invested and it just gets left there and continually grows. Okay, so the P is the original amount of money you're investing. R has its own little calculation, and this is its little formula. So R equals 1 plus R over 100. Now, the little r in the formula is the percentage interest that you're earning per time period. Now, that might be per annum, but it also might be per month, it might be per day, it might be per quarter. We don't know. Okay, it depends on the question. So that could change the time period. We'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. This whole answer here, when you work that out, that whole thing will be a decimal. All right? Just much easier to deal with if we can get that to be a decimal. With practice, you'll get pretty good at it anyway. And then the n in the formula up here is the number of time periods. They could be years, they could be quarters, they could be months. We don't know at the moment. All right, now the second formula that you need to know is compound interest. Now, it's a bit different to the simple interest formula. When we were doing, well, it's not actually a formula, but the way I taught you with simple interest, we just calculated the simple interest doing what we did. We got the interest straight away. This one does not give you the interest straight away. It gives you the final amount. To get the interest, the extra amount that you earned, you get your final amount of money, take off what you started with originally, and that gap is your interest. So if you had $1,000 and it built itself up to be $1,700, then you've earned $700 interest. So you do your 1,700 minus the original 1,000, all that extra money is interest. Okay, now, when you're looking at your questions, all right, the easy ones you'll all get right, but the harder ones, you've got to be a bit careful with how you read the question. So always look at whatever is written after the word compounded. That tells you the time period that you're dealing with. So if it says compounded yearly, everything over here is going to be in years. If it says compounded weekly, everything over here is going to be in weeks. Okay, so you've got to read that first. So in the next video, we're going to go through some examples on this and see how it all works.